Hi, and welcome to the 12th Muse on the Introvert Biz Growth podcast, the show where I talk to introverts who grow their business and make a difference. I'm Sarah Santacroce. I'm the host here. And if you're new here, then I want you to know that this is not the usual format of my regular episodes. I post a new show every other Friday, and it's always a conversation with a fellow introverted entrepreneur who uses his or her introverted superpowers to make a difference. These shows are edited by Tim, my professional podcast editors, who also create amazing show notes pages. But today's a Muse, unedited, raw content. As you notice, no intro music, no bells and whistles. And I share these muses to make you think, to inspire you, to break the rules, and to eventually invite you to the gentle business revolution when it's ready. And it's almost ready. So tune in for the Muse in 2 weeks when I'm going to be revealing what I've been working on all these months and open an invitation to you, the Gentle Business Alliance. But that's in 2 weeks. So today I want to talk about fear. Fear that's holding us back, fear of rejection. And we all have it. You know, whether we're extroverts or introverts, I think we all kind of deal with this. But especially as conscious entrepreneurs, we truly care about our contributions to the world. So if people don't like what we share, it strongly affects us, maybe more than others, and me included. And so in the Anxiety-Free Marketing Program, I included an exercise that digs deep into our fear of rejection, as I think it starts way before we become entrepreneurs. So this fear of rejection, we really have to go into the roots of where this comes from. And I'd like to share that exercise with you today. So if you want to clear the blocks around marketing and fear of rejection, it's really about going back to the roots and going inward. And we have to look at our own personal story with rejection. So let me share that exercise with you. And the questions, by the way, are inspired by Lauren Sapala's book, Firefly Magic, which is a book for introverts about marketing for introverts that I highly recommend. And so I'll go through the questions and answer them from my perspective and kind of share my story to serve as an example. So the first question in this exercise is to finding out what are you most afraid of when being rejected. So what is it? And clearly for me, it's this feeling of not being lovable, not being loved, not being enough, being judged. So all these feelings, right, come up. And then the second question is, can you relate the above fears to any memories in your childhood or youth? So obviously that will take some time to think about, but what comes up for me when I think about this is that I grew up with an emotionally very distant dad. So he never talked about emotions, never showed any emotions to us, and was just overall very, kind of quiet and didn't use communication much. So all my life I fought for his approval, his love, and that's what has been holding me back for many years. I thought that I didn't feel loved by him. And so showing up or being seen always got me to a rejection because somehow it didn't show me that he didn't show me that he loved me. So yeah, this was holding me hostage for many, many years until I was able to let it go and forgive him. And then the third question is, did these early rejections trigger some coping skills or strategies that you are still using today, like not trying out of fear of being rejected? So very clearly for me, yes, I was pretending that I didn't care, or maybe fighting harder to prove something to him, doing more instead of being more? So those are the three questions that maybe you can take some time to think about. Depends where you're listening to this podcast. Maybe you don't have time to write them down, but at least kind of think about these rejection triggers and where it all started, maybe in your childhood. And, just going back to the roots of this doesn't mean that you're never gonna have these fears again. Like, I was just dealing with this recently as I was promoting my LinkedIn Social Serving Method course, and signups were just not coming in, and I felt that fear of rejection very deeply. I was ready to give up and just stick my head in the sand and, say, like, nobody likes what I'm doing. People are not ready for this different approach. So I'm just going to give up and shut up and not talk about it anymore. But then I realized that this is about way more than the number of participants for me. This is about the serving mindset, about coming from abundance instead of scarcity. And this is about being more gentle in business. So I took all my courage and continue to share about it, showing up because it's important to me, because it's aligned with my values. But at the same time, I also surrendered and accepted that a small group will be perfect. So I was, instead of, doing more, I wasn't like, sharing endlessly. I just said, yes, I'm still going to show up and share. But I didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm like in this hamster wheel. I have to keep doing more and more and more. I just accepted the fact that this is going to be a small group and it will be perfect because it's going to be exactly my kind of people who get it. And I'm so happy I did, because that's exactly what happened. The perfect people showed up, my ideal clients. So in order to make a difference, you really just need to put yourself out there with vulnerability. And the more people you reach, the more rejections you will get. That's just how it works. It's the law of the universe, right? So I hope this short episode, this short muse, will maybe help you think about this fear of rejection. Maybe you can go through the exercise, if not in writing, at least in your head. And remember it next time you have this fear coming up, and just decide to do it anyway, and decide to be gentle with yourself, and at the same time surrender and say, I'm going to be more instead of do more. And yeah, that's what I have for you today. So thank you so much for listening to this muse. I hope it has resonated with you. And if you have any friends you think that might appreciate today's episode, why not share it with them? And make sure to tune in again for the Muse in 2 weeks, when I'm revealing what I've been working on all these months and open up this invitation to the Gentle Business Alliance. Because if you're listening to this podcast, I think you might just like what I have to share. And of course, there's next week's interview as well. So best thing is to just subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you soon.